Hello, San Francisco, and welcome once again to the Angelic Troublemakers. I'm your host, Alan Jones, and on today's program, I am Chief Critic of SFPD, but I'm bringing you this program today based on another SFPD police shooting. Um, it's real disturbing to hear so many police shootings. Uh, Wednesday night, I was in the Mission District and I was about to have a meeting that was to be held in the SFPD. It was unrelated to anything police wise. In fact, it had to do with my ballot measure. But at the last moment, we had to change uh, locations because there was going to be a police protest at the 17th and Valencia police station due to the fact of a shooting that happened the prior evening. A young man, 19 years old, was in a trunk of a car. He was a robbery suspect and he was riddled with bullets. Now, me being the chief critic of SFPD, I have to make this statement based on the fact that people are going to think that I'm siding with the police. Now, it is my personal opinion that SFPD is more arrogant than it is racist. I've had personal interactions with the police. I would say 95% of the time it's been positive. Nevertheless, I've seen them in action, and as far as racists are concerned, yes, there are some racist SFPD, but they're more arrogant. I could tell a story, but I'll get on to the purpose of this program instead. Uh, the point that I would like to make is we need a new way to respond to police shootings because I'm going to show you a video news clip about what happened or what was reported from a local station concerning this latest police shooting and point out a few things of it. So bear with me.
Is dead after a police shooting in San Francisco's Mission District.
Yeah, police say that it all started as a robbery investigation. KRON 4's Will Tran joins us live with the details.
The scene is still very much active. You can see investigators here and there are markings on the ground. So it appears multiple shots were fired. This is on 21st and Cap. This is going on now for about 7 hours. You can see investigators walking back and forth. It actually started at around 10:30 last night when two victims of an armed robbery notified the police department. They rushed to the area and then they located a black SUV about 2 blocks away. You can see the SUV to the left of your screen there. When police pulled over that SUV, they said the driver gave himself up without incident, not a problem, but then they noticed that the trunk was ajar. They tried to negotiate with the person inside the trunk, but something happened, and that's part of the investigation. Something happened that caused an officer, at least one of course, to open fire on that particular person, killing that person at the scene. They went inside the trunk, and according to investigators, they found a handgun in the trunk. There was also a female passenger, and that passenger gave herself up without any incident. So 2 people, not a problem as far as injuries, but they're downtown right now being talked to by investigators.
Well, not the video that I wanted. Anyway, still I can get my point across. video that I was looking for was about the protest of the shooting. And I selected the wrong one, and I don't want to go back and straighten that out. However, the reporter commented on the fact that the people who knew this suspect were talking about him in such glowing terms. And they were questioning the shooting. Now, the report talked about the police who fired 40 times into this vehicle have somebody who says they saw a flash from within the vehicle of a gunshot. And then that's when the police unloaded. And so if you're hiding in the trunk and you're the suspect in a police shooting and you have a gun, well, I don't know. You're not going to get too much sympathy from me. But I will say that the people who responded outrageously protesting at or marching at the police station on 17th and Mission, I just don't get it. I need to break away from this story to tell of something that happened to me when I was 19 years old. And it's mainly to get my point across. When I was 19 years old, someone said to me, a neighbor, "Shut up, you crippled nigger faggot." And when he said that, instead of lashing out at him with the person who I was with who wanted to do something, I stopped and I thought, why would somebody say something crude to me like that? And my answer, I disrespected the man first. And so I learned from that incident, if I don't want somebody to call me that again, I better learn to respect people. Well, how does that relate to what I'm talking about here in this shooting, police shooting? Someone said that, why did the police have to shoot? His name was Jesus Delgado. Why did the police have to shoot Jesus Delgado? He was just scared of being deported. Well, you can't get that one over on me. If this 19-year-old was so scared of being deported, the last thing he would be doing is out robbing people with a gun. So I can't sympathize with people who just run out and say, oh, the police were wrong, when that's your explanation. Of course, the person who said it was emotional, and I'm sure that they were acting before thinking. I call it shooting the mouth and not asking questions later, just coming up with answers. The fact of the matter that a lot of times we find ourselves in situations where the police are basically, oh, I thought he had a gun. Then, well, you get tired of it. And I myself am so tired of the police excuses whenever they fire their weapons. You know, it's hard for me to believe them even when they're in the right. However, this particular shooting, you're in a trunk, you have a gun, And 5 minutes, the police tried to get you to come out in English and Spanish. And then you end up dead because you refuse. This is not right. Shame on me. I thought I turned my phone off. Anyway, the issues that a lot of times we find ourselves in, we really need to take a step back and look at ourselves and our own actions before we start lashing out at others. And I say that because we're not going to solve these problems by every time we see a police shooting, we storm to City Hall or the police station demanding justice. We need to take a break, take a breath, and look at the situation. Now, I am troubled by the reports that I hear where this individual, bear with me here, this individual graduated from the same high school I went to. He in San Francisco, John O'Connell. He was a hard worker. He stayed at home. He worked a few blocks away from where this incident happened, but he was known to work late, long late hours. Well, he had a beautiful smile. He was the life of the party. These are all things that I've heard of people describing him. But you put that next to a suspect in a robbery, it just don't make sense. And so with that being so confusing, the last thing I'm going to do is run out and say the police were wrong. I need to get some facts. And I'm saying that in this society, too often, on both sides, the government and the citizens, we tend to run out and shoot off our mouths demanding justice when we don't have the facts. And I cannot say how often that I, in my past, and probably a little in the present, have mouthed off on something because I thought I had all the facts, and then come to find out, no, I didn't have all the facts, and I looked really silly trying to defend something when we all know there's two sides to every story, and then there's the truth. Well, the fact that I am so critical of the San Francisco Police Department in this particular case, I can't give up sympathy for the victim, if you will. They called him a victim. He was a suspect. I guess you could call him a suspect and a victim. But the fact is a young 19-year-old is dead who, when you really look at it, should have been living a long life. Someone said that they invited him to a dinner just hours before the shooting, and he declined. In other words, if he had taken up on the invitation, he'd still be alive. But no, he chose to get in the car with someone, I guess one of his buddies, and a young lady who was also arrested. And hey, ended up, as far as the evidence so far says, in a robbery, armed robbery. And when will we, instead of trying to accuse the police of being wrong, when are we going to try and understand what they have to deal with? I have heard many situations where a police officer did something really bad and then they get their job back. Well, I don't get that either. But when it comes to police who do the right thing, I think that they have as much right to protect themselves as anybody else. When it comes to guns, Florida, the latest shooting that happened in Florida, all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, has a new gun law. Well, wait a minute. There's been shootings in Florida for years. Why is it that just now they decide to do something about it? When they could have done something to prevent this latest shooting with the last shooting, mass shooting. So we are too quick on one hand and we act too slow on the other. Well, something's got to change, people. I myself, I am not against people protecting themselves with guns. But my goodness, if people think that they're going to just go on running around robbing people at gunpoint, and then you want me to have sympathy for the suspect who shot in a hail of bullets by police, aren't you asking for too much? I mean, I defend the person's right to have a gun. And don't give me this Second Amendment thing. I don't believe the Second Amendment protects a person's right to have a gun. I don't believe it. Read the Second Amendment. I do believe that any human being has the right to protect themselves and should. And especially with such a scary American society, hey, I understand how people want to load up with guns. I have a friend, he had several guns running around in his house, and they're all for protection. Guns in every room. It's ridiculous. But some people are scared. I get it. But what I don't get is how people, knowing even the beginning of an investigation where a young man is gunned down in a trunk of a car, there's a gun found in the trunk. There's 5 minutes or more of police trying to get him to come out in English and Spanish, and people are still saying the police are wrong. That's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. You know, that's a you can't win for losing issue on the police. And I myself, I hate to think that I'm going to start feeling sorry for police. But this is a real case to where I might start feeling sorry for the police. Why? Because we can't claim that we are trying to protect the citizens and lambast the police every time they fire off their gun, as if no shooting is justified. The fact is, I think people are overreacting, and we're stuck on two different sides with none of us willing to look at the situation objectively too often. And I'm saying that for me, I'm telling you, we need a paradigm shift, a model. We need a shift in how we respond to police shootings, because I'm not one to quickly throw the police out there as wrong, but I've seen an awful lot of wrong with the police. And I'm not the other way around. I don't want to act too slow. The police do need to be held accountable. The unfortunate situation that involved Colin Kaepernick, where he justly said, I can't support police running around killing my black brothers or sisters with impunity, and he took a knee. Well, the man's been unemployed, and I like the fact that ever since he's been just helping out anybody who needed help he can find. And while he deals with the situation of being blackballed from the NFL, I really applaud this individual. But if Colin Kaepernick comes to the defense of something like this situation, then he's telling on himself. And I can't respect that. All the good work that Colin Kaepernick has done in defending the rights of individuals, most of them whom are black, people of color, the fact of the matter is you can't just look at these situations and automatically side with one side. You have to look at this and, in some cases, give the police the benefit of a doubt. And believe me, it's hard for me to even say that when I know I've seen with my own two eyes police act inappropriately. And for me to be in a situation to where I am defending the police, my goodness, I have to come down and say I'm not any longer the chief critic of SFPD. Because I'm telling you, when there's people coming forward with illogical statements of, oh, the police, why did they have to shoot my boy? When your boy is out robbing people, you should be saying, why didn't my boy have to go out and shoot people? Now, I'm sure down the line somebody's going to try and sue. Why? Hey, that's the way we are. And somebody probably dumb enough to take the case. And God forbid that they find just a teeny thing that the police did wrong in this latest police shooting. Because they're going to try and make a federal case out of it. And I'm telling you, that's not right. I honestly would love to see in my lifetime where the police will admit that they're wrong, but the citizens will do the same. Because I think that it is wrong when you have the evidence that is as clear as it is in the early stages of this particular shooting for you to jump against the police. It doesn't help the police perform their job when we running off and accusing them when they do the right thing. It just doesn't help the situation. And I want to be protected by the police when I call on them. But how? If they end up being so scared. Until next time.